Can I have the other two mics? And then one at the other end. Mrinal, what do you think about this whole thing of getting the devices out cheaper?
I think that's a basic necessity for connecting the next billion worldwide. So what Magnus is saying is right. Now he also put across a Chinese opportunity and an English threat on the slide, I noticed. Yes, a lot of people would consider it as a threat, no IMEIs, I don't know if the phones are not governed by any regulation. But I think a lot of telecom penetration overall has gone up because of increasing affordability in devices.
So you approve of unbranded phones? Is that what you're saying?
You're putting words in my mouth now. All I'm saying is I think with the volumes rising, prices will come down. So it's a chicken and egg kind of situation. But we need to really look at about a year back, we were talking of a $50 smartphone coming in. We've already started talking about $30 smartphones. And penetrations are increasing significantly because of the lower priced phones. I was just discussing with Nokia the other day, their Ulch phones do not even have GPRS. And I was telling them, does it make sense in today's day and age to have a phone without data connectivity at all? So I think the telecom, the handset manufacturers will also start thinking of getting devices all with data connectivity.
Well, Kofi, let me ask you as a Ghanaian, do you believe that somebody in a rural area is going to be able to afford that $30 smartphone?
Maybe I can speak a bit more freely on the unbranded handsets area. But I have a sense that we generally privately agree, without putting words in anybody's mouth, that if it drives penetration, we don't have a big problem with it. The question is, any time there's a space where a need is not being adequately met, somebody is going to meet it. So if there are branded devices that meet a need, people will go for those. And if they leave a gap, be it a service or feature gap or a price gap, somebody else will meet it. But the question I do have, it may be answered within the panel or in the audience, is how come we're not seeing operators aggressively subsidizing the devices yet? And might MNP actually dissuade operators from doing that if it may be easy for a subsidized device to be moved from the network where it was initially subsidized to another one? So that if there are $100 or $150 smartphones today, why are they not retailing at $50 or $30 with a subsidy and a 2-year contract?
I think that who is going to answer that particular question, but if you could pass your mic to Mr. Nimfo of NCA. I think already a few regulatory issues are coming out. If you could comment on them with respect to the phones. But I'd also like you to comment, because the whole point of having a smartphone is the ability to access the internet. And one of the biggest mysteries, unsolved mysteries of our time, is the actual cost of bandwidth in Ghana. I don't know if perhaps the Oracle of the NCA is aware of it, but we are all struggling with that mystery because we don't actually know what operators are charging us now. I'm sure we have a few students with us in the room. You'll be on your Facebook for about 10 seconds and then all your units have disappeared. Anybody experienced that? And so, yeah, you know, we've actually had, I don't know if we're the first country where we had a bandwidth demonstration. You know, people took to the streets because of the cost of bandwidth. So I think the regulator would like you to come in on that.
Okay, thank you, Dorothy. I'm not sure if we are the first or the first country where we had a situation where the subscribers or the customers had to go on demonstration for bandwidth prices. But let me suffice to say that we are concerned about, and we take seriously the complaints and the reaction of the consumers. Because we believe there are two things that is primary for us at the NCA. Affordability and accessibility. These are for services, be it voice, data, what have you. Now, and the other element that I want to add to this is that we have two mode of broadband, and that is that we have wireless and we have fixed. Now, for wireless, all the operators, basically almost all of them are providing wireless broadband. For fixed, we only have one, which is Vodafone, which is in a fixed broadband. So that brings in the issue of how do you compare the prices, and how do you come up with the approach to be able to make it cost effective for everybody. After all, what is happening with Vodafone is that they are looking at, they're using a combination of old infrastructure plus new infrastructure to be able to provide the fixed broadband that they're providing right now. So there's some cost element over there. Suffice to say that we at the NCA, we are looking at this issue very seriously. We haven't come out with a statement yet because we haven't done all the analysis that we need to do. But trust you, we want to leave you with this message that very soon we'll be coming out with a position as regards some of these issues that have been in the public space, some of the demonstrations, some of the arguments going back and forth. And clearly for us, that's something that's what we are here for. That's something that is of concern to us. And as I mentioned at the beginning, there are two primary issues that we deal with, and that is affordability and accessibility. And we're going to work on that and ensure that the Ghanaian public is able to access services, be it data, otherwise, and as well as being affordable to the common person on the street.
Thank you. Could you pass your mic to Dr. Bafo? Doc, you're in charge. You're one of the management of an academic institution. A large number of stakeholders using your networks. How are you seeing all of these things affecting the way you do business? Are you one of those universities that has migrated to one of the over-the-top players in order to satisfy your bandwidth needs?
Well, technically, yes. A few months ago, we actually launched our own tablet. And we're still working with Huawei and other parties to make it better. I think the first one was the prototype. So, because we believe in mobile learning, and I think that should be the future of the country, the future of Africa. Because if we look at the current African statistics when it comes to education, technically we are not educating the continent. We are not. So, and if you look at all the fixed broadband, accessibility is not there for most parts of Africa. The rural folks cannot get internet. And the only way you can do that is to provide internet through broadband wirelessly. And so, coming back to the question on the cost, I think $30, I don't know where Ghanaians get the money, but I think if it comes to $30 phones to be able to access the internet, I think my grandma will probably get one. And so, personally, I think that is the way to go. And with an over-the-counter or OS coming from Firefox, I think it will definitely help with the price of the cell phones down. But generally, like I said earlier, I think the way to go is wireless broadband, and the way to go is to have smartphones that are cheap enough for students to be able to buy and use them.
Yeah, but right now, do you get your bandwidth from a provider or you get it through an OTT player?
We get our bandwidth from Vodafone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we get from Vodafone.
Yeah, Ghana Telecom University.
Well, it's not free, but they
most of the universities in Ghana have moved their entire student populations, and they are acquiring their bandwidth through an OTT player. They are no longer going to local companies for that bandwidth. Mavis, speaking from, your very good vantage points within the World Bank, where you're able to see so many different approaches in so many different countries. How would you say, what would you say we need to tweak in Ghana to make it both, it's an intensely competitive market with 5 GSM players, good demographics in terms of the growing population and therefore the growing markets, What could we be doing to really exploit these opportunities?
Good morning. Thank you, Dorothy. I think maybe I'd like to, a lot has been said about the value of having cheaper handsets and smartphones and tablets, so I think we all agree on that. But maybe there are a couple areas that I'd like to...
Closer to your mic.
There are a couple areas that I'd like to focus on. First of all, even if we have very cheap handsets and we don't have the applications that are really that meet the user's needs, it's very difficult to have that critical mass of users that will drive the demand. So we need to look at both sides of meeting, providing applications that really are useful for users. On the banks, there's another element that we're looking at, that if government itself, which is a very key player, is not part of this process and it's not using these applications, it's very difficult to have any policies that either drive down the cost of handsets or even improve the environment for better networks. What we're doing at the bank is making sure that the government itself is digitized, that the government appreciates digital being on the part of the digital economy. So, for example, if you're able to, in many cases where we keep comparing ourselves to the Kenyans, and if you're able to apply for your taxes online, if you're able to apply for your driver's license online, if you're able to have these very valuable applications that meet your need, the average consumer is ready to pay whatever price, for whether it's $30 or $100. The issue is having those applications that meet our needs, which are not currently not there, the relevance of it, which is currently not there. I think it's really important to really drive home to government about the importance of its own use or its own participation in the digital economy. That has, the knock-on effect to the citizens. And I just wanted to pick up a point on that Kofi made about the Universal Access Fund in terms of subsidy. We've seen it done in many countries. Different uses of subsidies, either using the Universal Access Fund. We do have the instruments in place, but because perhaps it has not become a priority to really use